1, 2, 3.
Welcome everybody, this is How to English, Teach and Learn with Gavin M.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and references will be given when necessary.
Got that, yeah, got that,
What are you doing?
Oh, hi Gav. Hi. You know what I'm doing? I'm just ticking off my holiday list.
Are you? Do you have a list?
I've got a list of things that I need to take with me, and I'm just ticking off the last 5 things. What do you think they are?
I think there's sun cream,
Oh, that was one.
sunglasses,
No, I don't like sunglasses. I don't find them very comfortable. No, don't like them.
are they all collocations of sun?
No.
Because I can't think of any more.
Come on, holiday.
Sun hat.
No.
Oh, money.
Well, yeah, but that's not the last 5. This is the last 5 things.
Okay.
The things I want on top of my suitcase so I can just grab them when I get there.
Your toothbrush.
No, that's not priority. I'm going to take my sun cream and I'm going to take my
Swimming costume.
bikini, yeah.
And your... Can I have a clue?
On my feet.
Okay, your flip-flops.
My flip-flops. I'm going to need something to do while I'm sitting there next to the pool.
Read a magazine.
Not a magazine.
Book.
And finally, I'm going to need something after I go swimming.
A towel.
A towel. You got them. They were the last 5 things on my list.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds like a great list.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us what all the other things are?
No, that's enough. I just thought that was a good little intro, like perhaps an idea for a game.
Oh, I like that. You could teach and learn English using what's the 5 things on my list.
The last 5 things on my holiday list to pack. I might do that this week. That might be my pre-holiday lesson for my students.
That's wonderful. Oh, I really like that. So, if the listeners hadn't already realised, today's topic is holidays.
Yay!
Yay! Have you got any holidays planned, Em?
I have, Gav. I'm having a holiday.
That's wonderful.
So this is actually real, this list I've got here.
That's brilliant. Well, I hope you don't forget any of those 5 very key things.
Yeah, they are really important. So what about you? Are you going somewhere this week? Are you going somewhere this summer?
I am. I also have a nice sunny holiday coming up and I'm really, really excited. So on the topic of holidays, Em, how do you teach holidays? Do you have any resources? What kind of angle do you go at when you're teaching?
Yeah, I do. I have a folder, as maybe previously mentioned in other episodes about organising. I can't remember which number that is.
Organising stuff, you mean episode 43?
That's the one, Gav, yeah. So I have got a folder called Holidays, and it's mixed. It's about travel, it's about hotels, restaurants, and I think there's some language there for reviews of holidays or online booking places. So yeah, I think there's different ways of going about this, and it depends on the group and it depends on the level. I quite like just talking to people about their holidays.
Okay, so after their holidays.
Yeah, and before. Like, what are you planning to do?
Oh, so you can use future tenses or past tenses.
Yeah. So you could actually, for me, if it's a 1-to-1, I would probably have a full lesson before the holiday and a full lesson after the holiday.
Can I interrupt you for a sec, Em?
Please do.
How would you prepare the students for a holiday? Give us a little insight into your methods.
How would I prepare them for a holiday?
Yeah, what kind of language would you give them?
A holiday lesson, not an actual holiday.
Well, maybe it's the same thing.
Is it? Okay.
Because I think when I teach students who are taking a holiday the next week, I give them the language that they might need in a restaurant, in a hotel, if they're checking in.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It depends where they're going. If they're going by car, if they're going by plane. If they're going by plane, I do a kind of what's at the airport, talk me through the process. Where do you start? And they usually just say, I go and check in. I'm like, well, what does that involve? Like, what do you have to do? What questions will they ask you?
And who is the person who checks you in? Because I always say clerk, but I'm not completely
That's a
sure.
really good question. The check-in desk assistant.
Okay, the assistant. Okay, because they're often cabin crew as well. You actually notice it's the same person who checks you in who's on the flight later. Have you not noticed?
No, never.
It's often the case.
They're actually, I think they're sometimes at the boarding gate, but I don't think they're actually on the flight with you. I've never noticed that.
I have.
Okay, maybe you went on a really budget airline and they only had a staff of 5.
That's how I roll.
Well, yeah. So all these words are really useful, and just be prepared for questions like, do you have anything sharp or dangerous in your luggage? Could anybody have put anything in your bag without you knowing?
Exactly.
And just, prepare students for things like that.
Because you have to have the right answers, like, yes, I did pack the bag myself. No, there aren't any sharp objects in there.
Yeah.
No, I didn't leave it unattended for more than 5 minutes.
That's right. So good question comprehension is very important, and making sure you don't make a mistake.
Yes.
But I myself do get flustered at these times, and yeah, sorry, whatever the right answer is, sorry. So that's always good. And if they're not going by plane, how long's the journey? What countries are you going through? Are you planning to stop anywhere? Who drives? What do you do while you're driving? All
That's
this
a nice
stuff.
conversation, because you could also compare the different forms of transport. So what's the advantage of taking a train over a coach?
Yeah.
Or
Nice
can you
language.
get there by ferry?
Nice, very, very good. Yeah, comparisons. That's a really good opportunity to talk about comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
I know how I feel before a holiday, and that's all I want to talk about is my holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from the student's point of view, they're maybe a bit distracted anyway. They're not going to want to do a lesson that's unrelated, or maybe it's just a standard sort of grammar lesson or something. So I can sort of sense they're focused on something else anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for them, it's actually really useful to go through everything they need to remember or what they're planning, because they've planned it themselves. So that it's quite nice to do that in English as well.
That's really good. So those are the preparations. So that's before going on the holiday. So we've talked about preparing for holidays that are coming up. And what about holidays they've already had? Could that be just as much fun?
Yeah, I always say, and have you been there before? And are you going to do anything differently? Are you
I'm saying about previous holidays. They might not have a holiday coming up, but they could talk about a previous holiday.
That's true. That is true. Not everybody has a holiday this year, or they're not planning to. So that includes everyone in the conversation.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Yeah, because maybe you've got one student who's planning a holiday for next week, but all the other students are sitting there thinking, well, I'm not planning a holiday soon. I've already had my holiday, but teacher, I'd like to talk about my experiences too.
Yeah, that's really good. And I often just say, ask a question about this person's holiday.
Yes, get the students interacting.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Just
that's really good.
typical questions.
Yes.
Obviously, after they've come back from their holiday, you say, how was it?
Oh, I love it.
Was it everything you hoped it would be?
Yes.
How was it different? What were the highlights? What was memorable? Tell me the first thing you think of when you remember your holiday. Then maybe were there any problems, any issues? Did you need to speak English? Why? Did it go well? Etc., etc.
Yeah, and then you can talk about all the students' favourite topics like food and sights, and did they visit any interesting places that they want to talk about.
Yeah,
There's hours of conversation there.
yeah. It's good. Really good.
And hopefully, because you've had the lesson before their holiday, they're already prepared with all that language. And then after their holiday, they've got a chance to use it.
Lots of vocabulary. So lots of words connected to holidays. But I also really like throwing in a bit of indirect questions.
Do you? Because that is exactly what was on my mind too. Tell me what you mean by indirect questions, Em.
The question structure that starts with, could you tell me? Do you know? I was wondering. That kind of thing.
And why do we use those kind of phrases, Em?
Well, that's what I ask my students. I say, why? And they say, I don't know.
Because it's complicated, teacher.
And I say, well, it just sounds more polite. I say, okay, so you've checked in, you're in your hotel room, you've just got one question you want to ask. You go down to the reception. The receptionist looks a bit busy. They're not looking up. Instead of saying, where is the swimming pool, which is a little bit direct, in my opinion, you say,
Could you tell me where the swimming pool is?
doesn't that just sound nicer?
It sounds so polite, doesn't it?
Exactly. So if you want to know, hey, what time's breakfast? You could instead say,
Would you mind telling me what time breakfast is?
that's it. So you go through the grammar, the subject changing position, subject then verb, like a regular sentence, not like a question. And that's quite nice, in my opinion.
It sounds really good. And you can have a whole lesson on that. So you can, for example, do the role play of checking into the hotel.
Yeah.
You can ask, what's the Wi-Fi password? Where is the bar?
Exactly. Get the students to come up with the questions. So what do you usually ask when you check in? Exactly. Where's the bar? Priorities. What's the Wi-Fi password? Priorities.
Exactly.
Things like that.
Yeah. So, for example, could you tell me, do you know, do you have any idea? I was wondering.
Yeah, you have to be careful with some of them though, because if you say, do you have any idea what your name is, for example, that's really strange. What else is in your box of tricks for holidays, Gav?
Well, something that comes to mind is a staycation. Have you heard of a staycation?
Yes, I have.
So we've had many of those recently. In fact, I think last year I only had staycations. What is a staycation, Em?
It's a holiday where you don't go anywhere. You stay at home.
That's it. But maybe have some time off work.
Yeah. So holiday. That didn't catch on, did it? Staycation is better.
I like that. Say it again.
So holiday?
So holiday. Like a couch holiday.
Yeah. I can see why they went with staycation.
Yeah, that makes much more sense. I like that. But yeah, so maybe students actually haven't had a holiday, but you can still talk about what kind of holidays do you like. In fact, this reminds me of an activity that I do with my students, Em. I have a PowerPoint and I show them either in person or on the screen, and I get them to describe the types of holidays that are pictured in my PowerPoint. What I'd like you to do, Em, because you know usually I test you and I give you a little quiz.
Yeah. Without fail, it seems every time these days.
Well, I thought this time you could give me a little quiz.
Yeah? That
Yeah.
sounds good.
So I'm going to give you some pictures. Are you ready?
Okay.
Right,
You're
so-
actually giving me your laptop. Right.
I'm giving you some pictures, and I want you to describe what you can see in the picture, and I will tell you the type of holiday that you're describing. So we're doing a lesson now that isn't actually about going on holiday, but maybe just different types of holidays. So it's
Okay.
a good discussion.
Okay. So, the first picture, I can see a group of people in a jeep surrounded by elephants.
Oh, that's easy. That's a safari holiday.
Yeah. Okay. The next one, there's a couple. They're in a car on a road, and there's a map there. They're looking at a map. Well, one of them's looking at the map. The one that's not driving.
Is that a road trip?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
The next one, there is a person with a camera, and they're looking at the Eiffel Tower.
Ooh, okay. So that could be a city break.
I think you're right. And the next one, there's a couple on a beach looking at the sea. They're sitting in deck chairs. There's lots of sand, blue sky.
Oh, that sounds delightful. I think it must be a beach holiday.
Yeah, it is. Okay, one more. There's a big swimming pool, a hotel, lots of palm trees, and seats and umbrellas all the way round.
What kind of seats, Em?
Sunbeds.
Ah, that must be a resort.
Yes, resort holiday.
Well, get me. I got all of them right.
You did. Well, it is your lesson, but yeah, I did like that. That's a nice way to do it.
I like that too.
Visual and spoken is very nice.
What
isn't
would
it?
you do with that, Em, apart from the activity you've already shown us?
Well, if there's a group of pictures, I would then say which holiday would you choose? Which would be your favourite? Which would be your least favourite? Why? Maybe you could do something like role play, where one student has to try and sell the other students a holiday.
Can you take us through that? How would that work?
You have to describe the benefits, or maybe you give each student a different kind of holiday, and one of the students has to choose which holiday they want, and each student has to try and convince the so-called customer to take their holiday.
Oh, I like that. So if you've got did we say the perfect number of students is 5? You could have 4 travel agents,
Yes.
1 customer,
Yes.
and the 4 travel agents have, like we said, safari, holiday, road trip, city break, and beach holiday,
Yeah.
and they can promote
Yeah.
each of these holidays to the customer, and then the customer chooses which one's best, and then that student is the winner.
Exactly.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like that.
Makes it a bit competitive as well. Like fight for it.
That's
I like
really
that
fun.
too. So Gav, I've got an activity for you now.
Have you really?
I have, yes. So I'm going to say a sentence. There is a gap in the sentence. You need to fill it with something that makes sense.
Oh dear.
Okay?
Now we're in trouble.
So, first one. We had to get up, ... to catch the 4 a.m. sleeper train.
Early.
Early, okay, early. Do you know any other ways to say early? Expressions, phrases, idioms.
At the crack of dawn.
That's the one I was thinking of. So you could say we had to get up early, but you can also say, what was it?
At the crack of dawn.
What was the sentence?
We had to get up early at the crack of dawn to
Early
catch...
and at the crack. You don't need both.
Do we not?
No, you just say one or the other.
Oh, well, they're synonyms.
They are.
I had to get up at the crack of dawn to catch the sleeper train.
What time was the sleeper train?
It was at 3.
No, it was
4.
at 4, but you're close. It's still very early. Okay, nice. Next one. My friends are real ...
Oh dear.
What?
Go on.
My friends are real ... They love museums, ancient ruins, and art galleries.
I think that sounds okay.
Are real?
Yeah, my
No.
friends are real.
No, they're real, or they are really, or they are absolute ... They love museums, ancient ruins, art galleries.
Are they culture vultures?
They are culture
Really?
vultures. You can say culture vultures. If you don't know that idiom, what else can you say?
Museum buffs.
Oh, I like that too. That would only be for museums, but generally you could say culture...
Culture catchers.
Not really common. Culture lovers,
Lovers.
maybe. But culture vultures, that's even better. I like that. Okay, do you want more?
I'm really enjoying this.
Okay, one more. Hang on. I've just come back from my holiday. I've only been home for a week, and I'm already getting ... Sorry, maybe more information. I'm already getting ... I just want another trip.
It's not homesick.
No,
Bored.
that's okay. That's fine. Bored. Feeling when you just want to go somewhere, do something.
Itchy feet.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm already get it. What was the sentence?
Oh, it was really long, wasn't it?
Yeah, just in
I've
your own
just
words.
got back from my holiday and I've already got itchy feet to go on holiday again.
That's fine. That is very good. Okay, last one. My friends always ... They hitchhike and couch surf everywhere.
They always travel cheaply.
Very good.
On a budget.
That's nice too. Anything else? More idiomatic?
Scrimp and save.
That's also good. Something to do with footwear.
Travel light.
Footwear.
Sandals.
Travel on a...
On a budget.
Footwear.
On a shoestring.
That's it.
That my friends... What?
My friends always...
Travel on a shoestring.
They
hitchhike and couch surf.
That's the one.
Oh, wow. Oh, I really like that. That's so much fun.
Yeah, there's no wrong answers there, but it's a nice way of upgrading
Well,
the
there
language.
are some wrong answers I demonstrated.
Yeah, for some reason my students don't say stuff like that, but yeah, you did well. But yeah, it's a really nice way of just introducing some new language because the students are already involved in what they've just heard.
Yes.
It's not just a list of new vocabulary.
Oh, I really like that. That's very good. Idiomatic language is so useful.
And holiday language as well. It's nice.
Well, I'll take your activity and I'll just mention one of mine, which is called I Don't Suppose You've Got a...
Say that again.
I don't suppose you've got a...
I don't suppose you've got a...
Yeah.
I don't suppose you've got a...
And then you just fill in the blank. So,
right.
I don't know. I was thinking about hotels again, but I didn't want to go back too much.
I'm happy to go back to hotels. I can go to hotels anytime you like. I love hotels.
Okay.
If there's a good breakfast.
Because you had your polite questions,
Yeah.
and I thought maybe some of the language might be a bit difficult for some students. So instead, just learn a phrase, and then you just add in a word at the end.
Nice.
So
nice repetition of just the phrase, I don't suppose you've got a...
That's it. I don't suppose you've got another pillow or a blanket or the Wi-Fi password.
So you would just drill that as a chunk because the pronunciation's quite specific, isn't it?
That's it.
How's this a game?
You wouldn't happen to have the remote control
You've
or...
just thrown in happen there instead of suppose, but that's fine.
And is there any chance you've got another... So these are chunks of language.
Right.
These are sentences, questions that students can ask rather than having to reformulate like your polite indirect questions.
see.
They can just have a chunk of language. Can I trouble you for some... And they're really nice questions.
Okay.
But maybe it's a set phrase that you can keep.
If it was a slightly lower level group, you might just choose one of those and
Yes.
teach that one.
That's it.
Is there a game involved in
There
this?
is. I've got some little cards, and you can have like a picture of some soap or an iron or a hairdryer. So these are things that you might need in the hotel. So the student calls the reception desk or pops down to reception and says, I don't suppose you've got and then, or could I borrow etc.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how this transfers to lessons, because what I thought you were going to say is you deal out the cards, everybody gets the items, and then the student who needs it has to say to each person, or they have a turn and they say to the first student, I don't suppose you've got a pillow? And they say, no, I haven't. And then they ask other students when it's their turn, and each person has to try and collect 3 things. And
That's
the
a
first
brilliant
person
idea.
to get the 3 things wins.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. Yeah, they could do that as well.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing about card games. They're quite versatile and you can come up with quite a few different ways of teaching and playing them.
Good. Nice.
On a slight tangent, Em, I have worked with somebody who was involved in the reservation systems for big online booking companies where you could reserve your holidays. And I did spend quite a lot of time teaching lessons about reservation systems, about the computers, how they work, about websites where you can advertise hotels. So holidays doesn't only have to be taking a holiday, being on holiday, but you might be involved in the travel industry, for example. Do you remember we talked about ESP?
Yeah, I do.
Was that episode 2?
Yes, it was.
And we talked about working in the industry, so that could be really interesting. This could be a good direction to take the topic if the student is actually involved in the industry.
Yeah, that's quite niche, isn't it, Gav? But yeah, you're right. It might happen that you have somebody who needs that sort of language. But that's a really good point. Booking websites are a really good resource. Maybe I've already mentioned. Have I mentioned?
I think we talked about this recently.
Go on a virtual holiday with your students.
That's it.
Go to booking.com or one of those other websites and put in a destination that somebody chooses and how many people and how many nights, and then you together choose the best hotel based on the reviews. And reading those reviews is quite fun.
It is. And then possibly write your own review after you have your imaginary, I'm doing air quotes now, imaginary holiday.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that. So yeah, it's real and it's very useful to everyday life, because that's what I do every time I book a holiday. I read the reviews. I actually just filter the negative ones so I can see what the problems might have been. And also, you can do a response to the review, because sometimes the hotel writes back to the customer and explains what the problem was or why it didn't work or whatever the problem they've said. And you could actually get the students to write a reply to some of the reviews that they haven't replied to.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I just had that one.
Em, we haven't mentioned Diwali, Ramadan, Christmas, Juneteenth.
No, we haven't, because I'm talking about holidays.
When you say holidays, do you mean what's typically used by Americans as vacations?
Ah, yeah, that is confusing, Gav. You're right there. I agree. It does get a bit tricky when students say, I'm taking a holiday.
So the student might be talking about a holiday as in a national holiday, or they might be talking about a vacation.
Yeah, this is where American English and British English is a bit different. So if I say I'm taking a holiday, it's not clear if I'm going somewhere. But if I say I'm taking a vacation, does that mean I am?
It sounds like you are.
Does, doesn't it?
What if you say, I'm having some time off?
That's clear. That's clear but vague. I know you're not at work, and I know that you're booking time off.
But you don't know if I'm on holiday.
I don't know.
Oh.
No, it's hard.
It is.
And holidays with an S? How were your holidays? Plural. How was your holiday?
Yeah.
But vacation is only singular usually. How was your vacation? Not
Is it?
how were your vacations.
Well, maybe if you had lots of vacations.
Then you can say it. But holidays, I've heard said as a plural when it's only singular.
Oh, wow. And happy holidays?
That's exactly it. I mean, what is it? Maybe that is plural. Like whatever holiday you're celebrating. That I think is different.
Holiday meaning national holiday.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not easy. But this is what you need to talk about, I think, in your lessons
It
with your
is.
students.
You
Just
need
to demonstrate how complicated it actually is.
Yes.
Because we don't know.
Well, I think we did quite well.
All right, but I'm still not clear exactly.
Just a couple of things that we haven't mentioned. We do almost every episode, which is English File. I've got in their advanced book 6A Vocabulary, Travel and Tourism, which has got some really good expressions. And also, one thing I quite enjoy doing is playing the Spot the Difference. And I have a photo, like a drawing cartoon, of an airport with an aeroplane, and there's a few different things around. There's like the baggage collection trucks, there's an ambulance, there's a fire engine, and what's that corridor thing called, that gets the passengers onto the plane?
Corridor. No. Passenger chute. I don't know.
Shoots them on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Customer tube. Well, I don't know. Does it have a name?
Yeah, of course it does. On the skywalk.
I thought it was just corridor, but yeah, okay, that
Something
sounds
like
good.
that. And in my Spot the Difference, I've got 2 pictures, and there are things missing or different in each of the pictures, and the students have to say, hey, are there 3 passengers standing on the runway? No. So student A says to student B, hey, student B, are there 3 aeroplanes in your photo, and is one of them taking off? And student B says, no, there are 4 aeroplanes and one of them is landing.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So it's all that language that hopefully you've already taught them, and now this is their chance to practice.
Nice. There's also one in English file. I think it's intermediate. New English file?
Do you mean 3A, The Truth About Air Travel?
No.
That's the one where they talk about boarding the planes and the instructions that you listen to, and there's all sorts of insights into airlines.
I don't know that. That sounds really interesting. No, I'm thinking of the other Spot the Difference that's at the airport, it's called, and it's in English file intermediate, I think.
That's ancient.
It is ancient, but it's really good because there's somebody checking in and there's a box on her trolley. Oh, in my picture, there's no box. Oh, there's a couple and they're shouting at each other. Well, in my picture, they're kissing.
Okay.
And then there's a person looking at their watch. Oh, no, in my picture, they're looking at the departure board.
Okay.
It's really good.
So it's all the language built into the lesson, and the students don't realise they're practising. They're just describing what they're seeing in front of them.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And
I love lessons like that.
Yeah. And it's like good for present continuous and present simple.
That's wonderful. All right, so we've given plenty of examples of how we teach holidays. All this talk of holidays makes me really want to take a holiday now, Em.
Good job you are, isn't it?
It is. Em, have a nice holiday or vacation.
Yeah, you too. Bon voyage.
Thank you very much. And I'll see you again soon.
With a tan?
Maybe.
Send me a postcard, Gav.
Okay. Or maybe a text.
Yeah, text now. Nowadays, definitely a text is fine. Maybe a photo?
Yeah, maybe. Sure. Okay, quick shout out to the socials, Em. Things are blowing up on YouTube.
Are they?
Yeah, it's going wild. So I'm really, really pleased. Get loads of positive feedback from people. Check out our YouTube if you're not already there. Go and subscribe, like, click the bell icon to get notifications when the new shows come out. And also check out our adverts and follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, please go and give us a 5-star rating for this superb, fun, educational podcast from Gavin M.
So this leads us nicely to our new feature. This week's song is a really good one to listen to next to the pool, on holiday, on the plane, travelling. Just turn it up loud. It's great.
I totally agree, Em. When I listen to this, I just think of sitting back in the deck chair on the beach, watching my friends just running into the sea, jumping on their surfboards and having so much fun. So before we listen to the song Brian Wilson's Smile by Joel David Levin, here is a short introduction.
Greetings everyone in podcast land. My name is Joel David Levin, and I'm a mild-mannered librarian by day and a mild-mannered rock and roller by night. I've worked as a public school educator for almost 2 decades, first as an English teacher, then as a teacher librarian. Outside of the classroom, I've written songs for the Briar Rose Ramblers, Far From Kansas, Kailua Moon, and Grammy-nominated slack key guitarist Danny Cavallo. I'm a graduate of UC Berkeley, where I received my bachelor's in 2001, Stanford University, master's 2002, Cal State University Northridge, master's 2009, and Cal State University Long Beach, where I received my Teacher Librarian Services credential in 2015. I live on the central coast of California with my wife, 2 daughters, and cluttered collection of musical instruments. My first novel, Incomplete, is now available through brick-and-mortar retailers and all online platforms. California can be cruel in the summer. The girls will give you sunburns with a grin, and the gray skies can be colder than December, when all you want is sunshine on your skin. And I get lost sometimes in the melodies of my mind, where I've tried to find what I need, but the crashing tide has swept me off my feet and left me incomplete for a while, just like Brian Wilson's smile. Pet Sounds was playing in my Mustang on the night we shared our first kiss. Suddenly, I didn't feel so lonely. I found salvation when I touched your lips. And I get lost sometimes in the melodies of my mind, where I've tried to find what I need. But the crashing tide has swept me off my feet and left me incomplete for a while. Just like Brian Wilson's smile. The specters sang from faraway horizons. Fireworks exploded in the sky. Watched it all from underneath the pier, before we had to leave and say goodnight. And I get lost sometimes in the melodies of my mind, where I've tried to find what I need. But the crashing tide swept me off my feet and left me incomplete for a while. Just like Brian Wilson's smile. And I get lost sometimes in the melodies of my mind, where I've tried to find what I need. With the crashing tide swept me off my feet, but you made me feel complete.